Okay, Bill. Hi, this is Ken Renner, and to whoever else it may concern. And I just wanted to get this back to you, the marketing plan that I've come up with for the cliffs at Lake Belton. Once again, I'm really honored to be a part of this community, and I'm looking forward to also owning and building my own property there. We're getting more and more excited as we move forward to this. Plus, we're also doing very well with our other projects in the first-time homebuyer realm up in the Belton market. So I'm very excited about this project, one of a kind, unique. After all my research that I've shown you, it's just going to be something else again. And so fortunately, I was able to get this marketing plan out only about a day late, but we have about 6 or 7 closings between today and the end of next week. So I'm glad to get this out and get this rolling. And we'll be in Temple on Monday, and I actually have arranged for a drone photographer to be there with me midday because I have 2 closings in Belton. So anyways, as promised, I've got the marketing plan. Hope it's comprehensive. I'm sure I've missed a few things, but you being the expert at marketing and branding, I will be more than honored to listen to your suggestions and also fill in the gaps where I may miss something, or maybe we need to take something away. And so my wife is very excited about the project as well. And she said, "Oh, Ken, this is just right down your alley because I love working with maps and projects and visions and goals and watching stuff happen." So, so here we go. I'm kind of going into with the marketing plan and see if I can get this to work. Okay, so the common vision and goal for us is to develop a one-of-a-kind, diversified, exclusive, gated waterfront community, all benefiting the Girl Scouts. And our goal is to sell all or a majority of lots in the next 6 to 12 months. And we'll have our first closings on the lots in January of 18, and our first home closings fall or winter of 18. As we know, our home building process for custom home building is right around that 10 to 12 month period, sometimes longer, of course, depending on the project. Then onward to phase 2 and phase 3. So, so the next thing was talked about um, the different phases that we're going to go into as far as marketing: the pre-launch, soft launch, grand opening, and the post-opening. Number one is to finalize the pricing. I've already sent the pricing list that you gave me to my contract coordinator who will be putting together the listing agreement. And of course, we can change that, finalize it, change it, and adjust it. But as I'm already moving forward with marketing efforts, I'd like to get that in place so I can start talking about the project as well. So hopefully I'll have our listing agreement set up for you, available for a review on Monday, if not sooner. And also want to make sure that we have the right owner, which was the developer, your development guy, have Kachina Development LLC as the owner. I'm assuming that's the right owner for the listing agreement. So I wanted to also talk about the marketing budget. And when the proposal I had sent over to you originally had me a discounted commission rate of 5.5%, 2.5 going to me, and 3 going to outside realtor. Definitely think that the outside realtors definitely have to have that 3%, otherwise would be viewed as being cheap. The inside sales we had on the proposal was 4.5 with for me to do an intermediary or just a seller-sided closing. Now, when we talked in the car, it was 4%, you said, and you would use the other 1.5 or 2 points for marketing budget. I just want to clarify that I'm okay either way, but I do want to make sure that we have enough budget. I've talked to my other developer friend and saying that you want to have a 1 to 2% budget per lot for all the stuff that we're going to have to do to put together for all the marketing pieces that I'm going to describe in here. I'm more than happy to coordinate it all and get it done. But there's going to be a team effort here, and we want to know who's responsible for what. If I do go hire a drone photographer, what would you want me to submit a bill? Do you want me to handle that? We're going to have we need to have high definition, high quality photographs as well for the brochures, and so I just want to clarify that. So that's one of our first things is our budget, marketing budget agreement. Just a simple email or a one pager is fine by me. Also want to find out our sales terms. I know you rattled it off at one of our meetings about your earnest money and then the hard deposit and then the remaining of the funds. I want to go over that again with you and the timing with you. I believe you said that you wanted the earnest money deposit at the beginning. Said for me anyways, $5,000 to $10,000. Then you want to think $50,000 in October to go hard. I just need to understand a little bit more. And then the remaining at closing in January, February timeframe. So timing, just to get that, so I can tell people this is how we're expecting to do it. And maybe that changes depending on how many lots we already have under contract. And then what kind of feasibility period are you going to allow a potential buyer to review the lots and make sure that he's fully confident and excited and ready to move forward and has had their, if they want their builder or their architect to walk the land and make sure that they're going to be able to do what they need to do. And you can guide me on that as what a reasonable feasibility time frame is. And then the marketing plan is pre-launch, which we're going to go into detail here, and then a soft launch, which we can discuss as well, and then a grand opening, and then what happens after the grand opening. So I understand that the roads construction is going to start mid-August. We have some drivable roadways by mid-September, and then full roads in, cut, done, paved by December. That's what I recall our conversation. So I'm going to do some research on the MLS system. The new system is Matrix. It's what we've been using with ABOR for years, but it's new to them, and they're just getting used to it. And as you know, up in Central Texas, it's Texas time up there. Everything kind of moves at government time, which is one of the reasons why I like it. Is the pay. I'm looking forward to a pace of life that's not so Austin crazy. That's why I moved here 23 years ago, and reminds me a lot of what Austin was like 23 years ago. So looking forward to that. But the new Matrix system, if you remember on my video market analysis, you're going to see that a lot of those properties didn't map out properly. It's also difficult. I've experienced this before with entering new properties that have never been platted before. People we're going to have, if they don't get, it's going to take a hand in hand and some arm twisting to get the MLS to get it right. And it can be frustrating, but that's what we pay our MLS system to take care of. So hopefully I can get in there with a nice, pleasant pressure and get them to make sure that our properties will show up the way they're supposed to show up. Also like to make sure we finalize our deed restrictions before we go to any print and everything. We got to make sure we know what our finalized minimum square footage is, our maximum building heights. Are we going to do 1-story, 2-story on the waterfront? I know my wife would prefer to do a 2-story on the waterfront. Personally, I prefer a 1-story, honestly, but the wife makes happy wife, happy life. So if it's a 1-story, we need to know that, and so does everybody else. I'm kind of torn between the view corridors and allowing the waterfront people to do what they want to do. And so that'll be up to you, a call that we have to decide together what makes most sense there. And of course, the maximum building heights, you can even do a 1-story, but they can be quite tall depending on how, look at Linda's house. It's a tall house. So, even a 1-story can be as tall as a 2-story. Of course, the masonry, the fencing, the roofing, the view corridors that we talked about, and then the number of buildings per lot. I'm sure I've missed a few other things that need to be probably in here and discussed. Next is we want to engage with a quality photographer to take some really nice photographs. Photographs sell the property. Gotta have them. So I actually have one that his name is Greg, and he has done some fantastic work. I can show that to you. His website done a lot of, and he works with the Photoshop to make it just over the top beautiful. And also, as of today, I've engaged with a drone photographer for high resolution aerials, and tentatively have got set up for Monday midday because I have a closing at 10 and a closing at 2. So in between the two, I'd like to get the drone shots taken care of. I know we already have drone shots, but I'd like to get some more, and so that's to get a lot more perspective on it, different angles and things like that. I just think it's really important and very classy. And then engage with a desktop publisher. I have somebody that I've been doing all my printing with that has a desktop publisher, but I'm sure been in the marketing world forever. You may have some people that you'd like to use for desktop publishing to create the brochures and marketing pieces and all that. So you're also the guru of branding, and we want to develop a branding strategy, including the logo. I thought for locally it'd be kind of cool, a byline that is 15 minutes from paradise. One of the things that we have to be aware of with the medical community, with the doctors and surgeons, one of my first sales back in the 90s was to a baby doctor. One of her requirements was that she had to be 15 minutes from Seton Northwest. So I've Google mapped it. I haven't driven it myself, but it looks to me like according to the map, Camp Kachina entrance is 19 minutes from Scott and White. So obviously that'd be normal driving speeds. If the doctor needed to get there quicker, he could break a few speeding laws to get there, but I haven't driven it myself. I'd like to drive it at reasonable speeds because that is a big deal. Believe it or not, they may not buy it unless they're within 15 minutes. And we're at 19 minutes, so we're darn close. So yeah, along with the logo, which we can have 99 Designs do it, or we can get a byline. Obviously, it's not 15 minutes to paradise if you live in Austin, but I think it's kind of cool. Something down that line. And then Girl Scout cause, of course, want to include that, weave that in throughout all the marketing material. Get permission to use their logo and all that fun stuff. I think it's great. Get some pictures. Get some pictures or some high-end stock pictures of the Girl Scouts and showing them what we do to support them. And then, of course, employment, school, shopping, recreation, the Lake Belton, custom home builders and lenders. We'll talk a little bit more about that down the line on who our preferred lenders and vendors are going to be. But we definitely want to include all the great benefits that the Belton area has to offer. So once again, tie our brochure to the branding of luxury lake living at its best. Of course, includes all the normal stuff, the description, the plats, amenities, pricing, lake living, gated exclusive medical and industry leaders. Have some nice photographs in there, glossy. It doesn't have to be an expensive brochure. It just needs to be a classy brochure. And of course, we want to tie the brochure and the branding, look and feel, the website, and all of our online collateral, as well as our offline collateral, so we can keep our branding consistent. And so website needs some work, but we'd like to during the pre-launch, like to get that community website at least to the point where we can be happy about it for being a luxury community building $1 million houses. Of course, copy. The copy is important. I liked a lot of the copy you'd already put in there. Photos, great. That's what we'll be doing. We need those high-end photos. We need the videos. Love to get some testimonial videos, and then the plat. A typical rendering of a plat that you would normally see with here's where the water is and here's where the lots are, and full color. And then area amenities and and the future plans. I think it's important to have potential conceptual, or at least some comments on what your potential plans are. Of course, they are, potential plans. And then also the Central Texas amenities, all the cool stuff that Belton and Temple have to offer, and the lakes and Salado shopping, and just the whole lifestyle of the Central Texas living. So, and that would be, definitely would like to create a nice community website as those community brochure. Of course, it's really easy to create a Facebook business page and a YouTube channel. And we need that branding and preferably the logo as well for the community. And then a video marketing strategy, including telling the story, which I'd like to have you, Bill, and probably your connections at the Girl Scouts, the CEO, and what have you. And then maybe we can talk to some of the residents who are already buying in there, the doctors and stuff like that, if they're willing. That would be great to tell a story. And I've got a really inexpensive but high quality camera crew that can do that for us. And then we want to talk about the date for the invitation only soft opening. So that would be something we need to talk. You mentioned the first week of September. I think that's being aggressive. Mid-September that would probably be better. And my anniversary is 9/11, so I have to work around that. Happy wife, happy life. So I've already started this interview and network with top industry professionals. I was introduced to you by Claire at First Community Title. She's very well connected, been in the area for, 17 years, I think she said. She's from Round Rock, so she gets it, and like I am. And she is really well connected and knows a lot of people, and has said that she will introduce me to whoever I need to know. So that's a good connection. And she is now the owner of the whole First Community Title Company network. I think they have 5 offices. And then lenders. I've already started working with lenders. One of them is from Fairway Financial, and she is Karen with a C, and she's got a foreign last name. But anyways, I talked with her today, and she's also very well connected with the banks to do construction to perm financing. And we talked a little bit about one-time closes, but she's going to connect me with the bank leaders as well for local banking, so we can get our construction loans done. And then custom home builders, and we talked about the custom home builders that she's very networked with. She's been in the business forever. I think it's 20 some years, and she mentioned some of the builders that we've already talked about, but having a good warm introduction. The first name, of course, came up was Bobby Arnold, and then there was Stillwater and a couple others, the Eagle Ridge with Chris Hodge. So, and I did see Chris Hodge on a lot of those listings that were on the higher end. So anyways, that'll be some local builders that I will be networking with, getting warm introductions from our other professionals. Of course, luxury realtors are a great source of sales, and so I'll be networking with them, and at the right time, once we get our collateral put together. And then, of course, the Central Texas Girl Scout leadership. I already have connections here in the Austin area with the Central Texas people that are involved with the Central Texas Girl Scout leadership. Melinda Garvey, she has the Austin's Women magazine. She's deep into it. And then Lisa Copeland, who used to be the owner of the Fiat dealership. She's very involved in the Girl Scouts, and of course you have your connections as well, and you're on the board and all that, so it's great. I do think we're going to be pulling in quite a few sales from the Austin area. I think that just because there's such high demand for lakefront Lakeview property at these prices, it's going to seem like a bargain compared to Austin, and so we're not going to ignore Austin market for this as well. So we want to select our preferred service providers. Okay, so who are we going to have as a preferred lender, or lenders, and preferred title company, and our preferred builders, like you said, 3 to 5 builders, some local, some out of town. We need to discuss that and find out who our service providers are going to be. And if those service providers are going to be involved and get their name on stuff, then they need to give us some sponsorship money. And maybe, for instance, on the soft launch party, the food could be sponsored by Fairway Financial. or the music could be sponsored by one of the builders. So I think sponsorships and getting them involved, because once they put their money up, then they will push out to have them tap into their databases and their email accounts and their networks to make sure our soft launch is a success. And of course, networking with the medical community and the influencers. Now, you've been doing it from the top down, which is great and perfect. But I've actually been working from the bottom up. I've already contracted several properties with nurses in the area for their first or second home here in the Temple area, and they have told me they would be more than happy to tell me about how doctors think, how they work, where they gather, all that fun stuff. And of course, I've sold several homes to doctors as well, and I'll be reaching out to them to find out what's the best way to get involved or ingrained into the community of doctors and medical practitioners. So now we're from the pre-launch, and most of all that stuff needs to be put in place before we really set up the soft launch. Not all of it, but a good portion of it, and we can discuss what portions we really need to have done. But we want to set a date and location for the invitation-only VIP event. Thought the waterfront properties, I don't think Linda's will be done, but the next door neighbor, I'm sorry I forgot his name, but that would probably be a great place. We'd love to have at least the rough cut roads in, because that way we can actually take some of the VIPs, or all of them, on a tour over there to drive through and not be in the four-wheel safari mode, four-wheel drive safari mode. Then we want to go live in the MLS. So about that same time, of course, syndicate everything to the web, issue the press release on the community, and syndicate the press release to targeted news sources, both locally and through social media, and strategy that I have in being able to get that press release to some of the top industry leaders. So I think that would be a very nice strategy. News always is good, is more marketable than advertising, as you know. So we also want to decide on signage and locations for the project, and this probably should be more in pre-launch, and we have to have some signage, and you have renderings for coming up, I'm sure, of the entryways and how the gated community entryway is going to look, and the monuments and things like that. I would love to have that also for the brochures, so we need those pieces. And then establish a timeline for, back on signage. We want to decide and find out from Morgan's Point and all that, what signage they'll allow. Where can we put the signage? I was thinking that there should be at least a sign right at the end of the road before it goes into Count Kachina. There could be signages elsewhere out on the other thoroughfares that lead to the project. It depends on what your thoughts are on signage, but I think signage is important. It's nothing worse than people saying they can't find it, though it's pretty easy to find. Then I'd like to talk about that timeline for the concierge center. This is really, I think, a great idea for residents, for the agents and their guests. People are building their homes and watching the project being developed and watching their homes being built. They can come out and grab a cup of coffee or a cold drink, with their friends, and then go out and look at the home being built. And we talk about some strategies on that. Plus, it's a place for us to also have a sales center. And then talk about the sales center, so the on-site representative. What's your expectations, and what really makes sense for us to have somebody manning the on-site sales concierge center? And keep in mind, I'll have a house in Lake Point I can use as a temporary service center, concierge center, that should be closed in November, December, if I decide to keep it. I do sometimes flip these rental houses I'm building. But that might be another option, to have a place that's close by where you can stay cool or stay warm depending on the time of year. So then on the soft launch, we want to schedule a grand opening for the public and a luxury realtor event. And so we'll have to discuss timing on that. And then we'll continue building our online strategy and Facebook community and YouTube videos and Instagram. Just keep building that as we go. And then I'd like to see if we could get a conceptual rendering of what the possible marina campsites and RV parking and all that fun stuff, that whole idea. And of course, then there's the whole legalese, which you're very familiar with. What kind of disclaimers do we need on our brochure and our websites? Make sure we're staying compliant with the laws. So definitely like your input on that. So grand opening, we would have a public and a realtor event on site. Hopefully the signage is in place. It makes the most sense. Concierge center up and running would be awesome, but I'm not sure if we'd even have utilities at that point. But hopefully it'll be on its way. And then a press release again, and direct mail to targeted. I have some ideas on targeted direct mail. And you also had mentioned that we could do personal invitations, even having possibility of Girl Scouts in uniform going and delivering some Girl Scout cookies with a very nice invitation to the grand opening, just like we would do for the soft event, soft launch. And then of course going to online syndication. So post grand opening, I'm going to continue my marketing efforts, local and other Texas markets. I think that, depending on how we get this thing off the ground, we also should not ignore the Austin market. I think there's a great opportunity there, especially with a lot of the influencers. I've been here networking and being an influencer in the area since 1993. So I have a lot of connections, and I've already had just word of mouth. People are really interested in knowing more about this project for their second home or even a primary residence. And of course, backing the Girl Scouts, that's really important. I think it's also a great marketing connection. I mean, what better thing? Empowering women, women leaders of the future. And then I'll continue building my local relationships with the influencers, especially the medical community and with the luxury realtors and of course the home builders. It only benefits my business to get ingrained in that community as I'm spending more and more time up there. Honestly, Bill, the Austin market, though it's been very, very good for me, is oversaturated with realtors. And right now, as I'm seeing the market turning, as we have 20% more inventory on the market, according to the June stats. Too many realtors and not enough inventory, even though with the increasing inventory going on the market, I think that indicates starting of a potential slowdown. And I'll tell you, realtors all get into the market when the getting's good, and then they slowly by attrition get out of the market. That always affects my business. But up in Belton, I've been welcomed with open, and Temple Belton, I've been welcomed with open hands and open arms. Also can be a big fish in a small pond. That's what it was when I first came here, which led me to be the #2 broker in the Austin Business Journal in 2004 and 2005. Okay, enough of my sidebar there. Manning the Concierge Center, we can discuss that. And then we also have, so that's it for until we get into our first sales and our first closings. And then of course it's being an advocate for the home builders to make their clients feel real comfortable during the home building process. So back to the vision and goal, just to reiterate, to develop one of a kind, diversified, exclusive, gated waterfront community, all benefiting the Girl Scouts. I'd like to get these things sold within 6 to 12 months with our first closing in January, and maybe our first home closing in late 18, and then onward to phase 2 and phase 3. So once again, thank you for your time. Hope this has been good for our planning. I'd love to get your feedback on it, and I'll send you this PowerPoint so you have it as well. And that way we can discuss it point by point, or at least the highlights, and we'll go from there. All right, thanks again for watching the video, and I look forward to working with you. I've got to head off to a closing. Thanks.